Good evening and welcome to my Sparkle Oasis. My name is Sherry Lynn Jackson, and this is the Word Spark Inspiration Podcast. I thought I'd take a break from sharing poetry and stories and share with you something I've written for my class because, well, I'm in the midst of achieving my bachelor's degree in education. And during that time, I've started spending some more time in some classrooms. And it's been marvelous seeing what the students are learning. And it kind of inspired this little recording because, well, some of the things they've been studying has been about American history and civics. So I'm going to share with you because two of the courses that I've been taking are related to those things, the period of the American Revolution and also to a course in American politics. And so I recently completed my midterms and I'm anxiously awaiting for my grades, but I'm going to read my paper to you anyway because it strikes a point with today, what's going on in the world. And it was fascinating to me to study it this time around. It was fascinating because I seemed centered on Madison. And I don't know, it was just very interesting to me that I was drawn to Madison more so than I was in the past. And so, anyway, here it is after I take a drink of water because, uh oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Give me a second. All right, here we go. Oh, this is way too fast. I'm using it's such a long piece that I decided to use tech and help to help me. And they've got these little teleprompter apps. And so that's what I'm going to use. So you'll have to excuse me. I'm learning how to use them too. So here we go. This is too slow. So we're going to make it go up faster a little bit. Before I read my paper, I want to begin with where I come from. My grandfather served in the Korean War. My father, who was not a good man, but who did serve his country, went to Vietnam. And he carried those scars with him on his body and in his mind for the rest of his life. I'm sure they both did. And my son, well, also served. And as his mother, I will never forget the moment I realized he would not be deployed overseas because the relief that I felt at that, it was overwhelming. I'm not ashamed to admit that and say that I am grateful that he stayed here in this country and that he was safe. Well, as safe as he could be. It was my grandparents who brought me to this point in my life. And, well, their sacrifices, their choices, their belief in the version of the American dream, it's basically what they hoped would be better for the generations after them, all of that. Well, I grew up believing in that dream too. I chased it. I built my life around it. But now, standing here, sitting here, whatever, running through life, I look around and I see the kind of chaos that feels eerily familiar, as if history has been warning us, as if all the stories and all the patterns and all the lessons in my life were leading us back to the same crossroads my family has faced again and again. This is the history that I carry. That is the lens through which I see war, not as an abstraction, but as something that has shaped three generations of my family. And that is the very path that has brought me here today. I am a true American, and I am not willing to allow democracy to die. I will stand up for my American dream and the American dream for others, especially children. We are the people. We have the power through the people, the arm of the government that recognizes you and me. We have a say in how our tax dollars are spent. And for one, would rather they be spent on programs for families, for supporting the growth of children and caring for our elders, and not a never ending war. And with that in mind, here is my paper, a reminder of our power as we the people. The Articles of Confederation versus the Constitution, a comparison by Sherry Lynn Jackson. Whoa, too fast. Let me slow this down. Now I know what it meant when it said I had to be slow on the paper part. Oh, and it's not letting me go up. You see, tech problems. Okay, here we go. Here we go. There we go. A classification system developed by Greek political philosopher Aristotle delineated three pure types of government: monarchy, the rule of one; aristocracy, the rule of a few; and polity, the rule of the general population. He argued that a durable republic requires institutions capable of shaping public opinion, enforcing laws, and promoting the common good. His politics was influential enough to be recommended to the Confederation Congress in 1783, bringing his ideas to the attention of early American thinkers, James Madison among them. I'm going to pause it there because I need a drink. All right, here we go. Madison recognized the failings of the Articles of Confederation for precisely this reason. They lacked the structural features Aristotle considered essential. Oops, it's getting ahead of me again because I stumbled over some words. Considered essential. The articles did not provide the power to tax, an executive to enforce laws, a judiciary to interpret them, or the authority to act directly on citizens rather than merely request compliance from the states. As a result, the articles proved ineffective, producing instability, interstate conflict, and disunity, and offering no reliable way to secure the national interests. The Constitution, however, was designed to rectify the deficiencies Madison identified. When one compares the Articles and the Constitution through the lens of these structural differences, it becomes clear how each system attempted and either failed or succeeded to meet the requirements of effective Republican government. One of the core structural weaknesses Madison identified, and one of the most significant differences between the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution, was the national government's ability to exercise real authority. Madison argued that since Congress lacked power to levy taxes, enforce its resolutions, or regulate interstate commerce, and depend upon each state's voluntary compliance, it created a government that could not directly act on citizens and was unable to secure national interests. All of these weaknesses were addressed directly by the Constitution by granting the federal government independent taxing power, authority over interstate commerce, and the ability to enforce the laws through an executive branch. It also established a national judiciary to interpret those laws and ensure uniformity across states. With these changes, the structural capacities that Aristotle considered essential for a functioning republic were met. Institutions capable of enforcing laws, shaping public behavior, and acting for the common good. The articles held little framework necessary for a functioning national government, offering no means to govern, whereas the Constitution established one with the authority necessary to operate as a true republican system. The two frameworks also diverged sharply in their understanding of the Union, a distinction that shaped whether the national government could function as a true Republican authority rather than a loose coalition of states. Madison made clear that one of his deepest concerns in the formation of a governing body was that there be safeguards put into place due to the human tendency to form factions. Under the Articles, states retained full sovereignty and could ignore national laws, creating opportunities for state level factions to obstruct collective action just as easily as individual citizens could. Madison believed this structure made the problem of factions even more dangerous because it allowed both majority and minority groups within individual states to block national measures that served the common good. In Federalist 10, he warned that factions are inevitable in free societies, but their effects must be controlled by a government capable of acting directly on citizens rather than through the states. Under the Articles, however, state governments could be captured by local majorities or powerful minorities, enabling them to defy national policy and undermine Republican stability. This lack of unifying authority meant that factional pressures at the state level routinely overpowered national interests. Although Madison did not draft the Supremacy Clause himself, he played a central role in shaping the principles behind it, consistently arguing that a Republican government required national laws capable of binding the states. By redefining the Union as a system of shared sovereignty in which national law held binding authority, the framers created the structural stability Madison believed was essential for a functioning Republican government. Because the Articles' understanding of the Union created persistent instability, its legislative design reflected and intensified those same weaknesses. Another area of major contrast between the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution is how the legislative structures were designed to function. Madison had strong beliefs that the Articles' single chamber legislation was incapable of producing stable Republican governance. In Federalist 51, he explained that the structure of the government must furnish the proper checks and balances between departments, Mad- and that dividing legislative power into two houses was a necessary safeguard against legislative dominance and factionalism. He believed the legislature was the most powerful branch and dividing it was essential to prevent tyranny. This concern was rooted in Madison's broader argument that the greatest threat to Republican government came not from a single tyrant, but from an overbearing majority that could sacrifice minority rights to its own interests. A bicameral legislature, in his view, forced the legislature to pass through two differently constituted bodies, making it harder for a single faction, whether majority or minority, to dominate the lawmaking process. The House, tied closely to the people, could express popular will, while the Senate, with longer terms and indirect election, could slow down impulsive or faction driven measures. This internal check was designed to refine and enlarge the public views, ensuring that laws reflected deliberation rather than factional passion. The bicameral structure designed within the Constitution. I got to take a pause there. Created internal checks and balanced representation, a reflection of Republican principles by having one chamber tied directly to the people. Taken together, the differences between the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution reveal two fundamentally different attempts to build a Republican government. The Articles lacked the structural capacities Aristotle and Madison considered essential: real national authority, a stable understanding of the Union, and a legislative design capable of checking factional pressures. Each of these weaknesses produced instability and prevented the national government from acting for the common good. The Constitution addressed these failures by by creating institutions that could enforce laws, balance competing interests, and represent both the people and the states within a coherent federal system. Through these structural reforms, the framers established a more durable foundation for Republican governance, one capable of securing national interests and sustaining the political stability the articles could not provide. I do have references for this piece, and they will be shared in the printed version of the transcript. Okay? So thank you very much for listening. And remember, you have a voice. We are the people. We're all Americans. And you are a true American. And I am a true American. Immigrants are true Americans because we have due process and we have the law. Thank you for listening.